Welcome to July the 7th. I'll start from 2017, work back to 2014, and take it from there. I can't seem to comment on the post in Fair Go in answer to Delia Dolla. Why on earth has gender been brought into this? I found this article interesting and the complaint would have had some substance until the gender card was pulled out. You then lost all credibility. Thank you, Delia. Gender discrimination is well documented against boys. I'm not quoting the red pill here, but point to over 40 years of research showing increase of marks by females in school finishing tests and university results. In the late 90s, it was shown that the difference was relative to the new text-based question types favored by examiners to get better results for girls. However, on the same style of questions as were asked in the 70s and earlier, numerical response, true, false, etc., boys did no worse, girls no better than before. But then even that began to change. Beating up boys so consistently over time changes results for them. But on the other hand, I've seen a picture and looked at the work of the lecturer who was a Stalinist, and I'm not revealing them or my friend for obvious reasons. Some things should not happen, but they do. A friend of mine doing tertiary study asked for me to look over their philosophy assignment. I did, and thought it was good, original, challenging, and engaging. Problem is, he is male and the lecturer is not. The lecturer marked the assignment and noted it was original and challenging and engaging, but only gave the student a low pass. The criticism that the lecturer gave was that the language was affected and one item appeared to contradict the thesis. My friend's essay was worthy of an HD. He did not contradict his thesis, but noted an inconsistency with it, something he was supposed to do in discussion. The university is a prestigious one in Australia and it highlights an appalling lack of standards. One guesses, had my friend been female, then the lecturer would have made an effort to understand what was written. It is theoretically possible for my friend to appeal, but they are too busy. They aren't going to make an academic career, they have learned valuable lessons. They just want to pass. How awful are Australian universities at this time? There is a culture war that conservatives have not engaged in. Libertarians are doing a much better job. In 1124, Tyre fell to the Crusaders. In 1456, a retrial verdict acquitted Joan of Arc of heresy 25 years after her death. 1520, Spanish conquistadors defeated a large Aztec army at the Battle of Otumba. About 1,000 faced as many as 40,000, conceding 73 deaths to as many as 20,000. In 1575, the raid of Redeswire, the last major battle between England and Scotland. It wasn't a raid, it wasn't fought in or over Redeswire, and it wasn't between England and Scotland, but over a disagreement between an Englishman and a Scot, both of whom could afford armies. The Scot defeated a dishonourable man. In 1585, the Treaty of Nemours abolished tolerance to Protestants in France. 1798, as a result of the XYZ affair, the U.S. Congress rescinded the Treaty of Alliance with France, sparking the Quasi-War. The U.S. had been upset by the behavior of revolutionary France. They sent a delegation to go, 3, but French diplomats insisted on bribes. 2 delegates returned to the U.S., and the correspondence, including the bribe demands, were made public. Francophile Jefferson did not see a problem. In 1834, in New York City, 4 nights of rioting against abolitionists began. In 1846, Mexican-American War, American troops occupied Monterey and Yerba Buena, thus beginning the U.S. acquisition of California. In 1863, the United States began its first military draft. Exemptions cost $300. In 1865, American Civil War, 4 conspirators in the assassination of President Abraham Lincoln were hanged. In 1907, Florence Ziegfeld Jr. staged his first Follies on the roof of New York Theater in New York City. In 1911, the United States, Great Britain, Japan, and Russia signed the North Pacific Fur Seal Convention of 1911, banning open water seal hunting, the first international treaty to address wildlife preservation issues. In 1915, militia officer Henry Pedris was executed by firing squad at Colombo, Ceylon, an act widely regarded as a miscarriage of justice by the British colonial authorities, partly because it was. He was falsely accused and then executed before the injustice could be discovered by those who could intervene. He faced the firing squad without a mask. His body was buried in an unmarked grave against his family's wishes. In 1928, sliced bread was sold for the first time on the inventor's 48th birthday by the Chillicothe Baking Company of Chillicothe, Missouri. In 1930, industrialist Henry J. Kaiser began construction of the Boulder Dam, now known as Hoover Dam. In 1937, the Second Sino-Japanese War, Battle of Lugo Bridge, Japanese forces invading Beijing, China. 1944, World War II, largest Banzai charge of the Pacific War at the Battle of Saipan. In 1946, Howard Hughes nearly died when his ex-F-11 reconnaissance aircraft prototype crashed in a Beverly Hills neighborhood. 1947, the Roswell incident, the supposed crash of an alien spaceship near Roswell in New Mexico. In 1953, Ernesto Che Guevara set out on a trip through Bolivia, Peru, Ecuador, Panama, and Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Honduras, and El Salvador. 1954, Elvis Presley made his radio debut when WHBQ Memphis played his first recording for Sun Records, That's All Right. 1959, Venus occulted the star Regulus. This rare event was used to determine the diameter of Venus and the structure of the Venusian atmosphere. In 1963, Buddhist Crisis, the police of Ngo Dinh Nhu, brother and chief political advisor of President Ngo Dinh Diem, attacked a group of American journalists who were covering a protest. In 1980, the institution of Sharia in Iran. Also in 1980, during the Lebanese Civil War, 83 Tiger militants were killed during what could be known as the Safra Massacre. In 1981, U.S. President Ronald Reagan appointed Sandra Day O'Connor to become the first female member of the Supreme Court of the United States. 1983, Cold War, Samantha Smith, the U.S. schoolgirl, flew to the Soviet Union at the invitation of Secretary General Yuri Andropov. In 1985, Boris Becker became the youngest player ever to win Wimbledon at age 17. 2005, a series of 4 explosions occurred on London's transport system, killing 56, including 4 suicide bombers, and injuring over 700 others.